Hey, how's it going? This is Erik. I am the Barmy Farmer from the Garden of Apologies, also the Saucerer from Soy Sauce. We're talking Garden of Apologies right now, and this is Pepper School, Season 1, Episode 2. I have my assistant here. This is Igor, and that's Bruce. Well, this shoulder. Bruce is over there. Got marmalade down there, and a mosquito around my ear. That's awesome. So the peppers we're looking at today. Say, I've got an orange Anaheim. There's an Aji White Fantasy. We have a purple pumpkin pepper. They do start off purple. They just ripen to this nice red. There's a classic standard cayenne pepper. There's the Chi Minh Cayenne. And we'll finish it off with a Puma. Looks a whole lot like a Hallows Eve, but I'll explain why in just a minute. Anyway, let's start off with the Anaheim. So this is the cultivar from a hatch-type pepper. The Anaheim peppers were brought from New Mexico out to California, and city of Anaheim, of all places, in Orange County. Although, the orange Anaheim, I got my seeds from Jim Duffy of Refining Fire Chilies. He got them from Jess Christensen in Denmark. So this is a Danish pepper, orange Anaheim. All right, let's bust her open and see what we get. So I've got my plate down here. Awesome. So we cut her open, and that's what we've got. Nice. Thick-walled. It's a nice crunchy pepper. Got a few seeds down in the tip here. I'll just scrape those out and save them. And I grew this pepper last year, year before as well. It's not really a staple pepper, but it's a good utility pepper that I've used for things like the peach haskap chutney uses this as a thickening agent. And for my cousin's wedding last year, when I made a blueberry sauce, I used the Anaheim Orange. So, dropping it off the knife, that shows me I shouldn't be pointing a knife at you. So, man, that's a lovely pepper. What do you think, Igor? Got a very nice sweetness to it. It has a similar flavor to an orange bell pepper, but again, it has that really intense sweetness to it. And it's mild. Anaheim peppers run about 500 to 2,500 Scoville heat units. So it's definitely at the mild end of the scale, milder than a jalapeno, with a nice sweetness. It's a really good utility pepper. It's the kind of thing you could just chop up and throw into a stir fry, and it would be quite comfortable there. Next up is the Aji White Fantasy. This was developed by Jukka Fatali in Finland. Fatali seeds, I think his most famous pepper is the Fatali Gourmet Jigsaw. It's been a contender for world's hottest. I don't think it is the world's hottest, but it certainly is a formidable pepper. So the first time I grew these Aji White Fantasies was 2 years ago, and these were used in round 3 or 4 of the League of Fire Pepper Eating Championships, the inaugural Heating Up the Capital in Ottawa, run by Heiko from Heiko's Hot Sauce. So check out heatingupthecapital.com. It's coming up on September 16th, 2023 for this year's episode. So, Aji White Fantasy. First off, it's a really cool looking pepper, but I just sliced it open, so let's see what we get. See? Nice good chunk of pith. Very thick walls. So if you can see that, it's a really nice thick pepper with a good crunch to it. Isn't that right, bud? Still have Igor sitting here in my lap. One other neat thing about this pepper is that the heat is in the pith, and there's no heat at all in the cheeks of the pepper. So if you're not a pepperhead, you can get yourself around it and get the flavor just by having a chunk off the bottom. So this has become a staple pepper the last few seasons as well, since I grew it for that League of Fire contest. I got tremendous feedback from it. People came up to me afterwards, asked what that pepper was, because it was just so delicious. So I used this in Squall by Soy Sauce as well. And there it is. Very sweet, It definitely has a bell pepper flavor to it, and there's a hint of honeydew melon. So the Aji White Fantasy, terrific pepper. It's it's a good utility pepper because it does have a mild heat to it, about 10,000 to 15,000 Scoville heat units. So a little bit hotter than a jalapeno, but it's a good baccatum pepper, nice utility pepper. It works in a lot of different occasions. So let's talk cayennes. I'll do the classic cayenne first. Let's flip my notes here. So it's a red cayenne pepper. My seeds came from the Garden of Apologies. So I just bought a generic seed pack maybe 7 years ago, and I grow these out periodically. There are other longer cayenne that I grow that are, I think, a better cultivar. But the classic red cayenne, you can't really go wrong. Everyone knows it. Everyone, when you think hot pepper, everyone just kind of pictures a cayenne. That's what it is. It's an ancient pepper, originally from Brazil hundreds of years ago, and they run about 30,000 to 50,000 Scoville heat units. So this is our second annuum today, with the Anaheim Orange being our first, and one baccatum. So, as you expect, when we cut it open, long, thin veins down the center, it's just packed with seeds. Seeds aren't really pleasant to eat, but if you're looking to grow more cayenne, really all you need is one pepper and you've got yourself a new garden. So, for the pepper, everyone knows and everyone understands and everyone loves to a certain degree. It's the staple pepper behind things like Frank's Red Hot or some of the American brands that I've heard about but never had a chance to try. Things like Crystal or Texas Pete that I've heard are really popular, but they just don't exist here. Standard Louisiana sauce does, but beyond Frank's, that's it. So Frank's is just really red cayenne and some vinegar. Mm. So it's a fresh cayenne, so it's different than the cayenne powder you get at the stores. Get the initial sweetness and a bit of fruitiness, but that transitions very quickly. Oops, cat knocking my stuff over here. Thanks, bud. But it transitions quite quickly into a bit of a floral flavor and somewhat perfumey. They run about 30,000 to 50,000 Scoville heat units, so it's a nice utility pepper. It's a standard cayenne. Everyone knows it. Everyone knows a cayenne. I'm highlighting a cayenne pepper here just to be thorough, just so I don't miss anything. Is that right, bud? I go here in my lap, sitting with my pepper plate. What do you think next? You want to go more cayenne or purple pumpkin? Let's stick on the cayenne for now. So, the Chi Minh Cayenne. So this is another older cultivar. There's a gentleman, Stephen Schwen, who's a Minnesota farmer. He used to bring in farm workers from Vietnam during the 80s to help him with his farm. And some of the farm helpers brought this pepper. It's a Ho Chi Minh Cayenne, so a Vietnamese cayenne pepper, a bit of a citrus flavor to it from what I recall from previous tastings. But so it comes from Vietnam by way of a Minnesota, USA farm. So, like the other cayenne peppers, like anything that carries this shape, they are long, narrow peppers just packed through with seeds. Long vein down the center, extended pith. Let me bust off a chunk here so I can tell you what we are dealing with. Ho Chi Minh Cayenne. It's in my top 3 of favorite cayennes. So very sweet off the front. Got citrusy. It's got and a very peppery back end heat. So it runs again as a cayenne about 30,000 to 50,000 Scoville heat units. It has a bit of a citrus flavor. There's a hint of lemon, but it's more of like a almost a tropical flavor with it. So it's really lovely pepper. I use that in the Pitter Patter by Soy Sauce. So that with ground cherries and some chamomile. Next up, as we are just powering through these peppers, 6 peppers, 15 minutes. Let's do it. So my purple pumpkin. So this is an annuum pepper. I wasn't able to find the origin on where this came from or who developed it or how it came out, but the pepper grows. It's a little purple guy that grows pointing up like a frutescens. But oh, look at that giant dragonfly. That's awesome. But it grows up like a frutescens, but it's actually an annuum. It's one of the hotter annuums, and it runs about 25,000 Scoville heat units. So it's at the lower end of the Cayenne scale, but it does fit into that range. Sorry about that. No one ever calls me, except when I've got a camera on. So, purple pumpkin. See, looks like a thin pepper. It's got a little bit of a thickness to it, a bit of crunch. See if I can get that in focus for you. Nice little burst of pith up at the top. Got some nice seeds in there. And this is a pepper that did come with some fanfare. I've heard good things about it, about how it's a very tasty, very useful pepper. And it is juicy. So I've got a bit of red juice that came out as I sliced into it. So purple pumpkin pepper. Yeah. And there's the heat. Nice. So up front it has a good fruitiness, a hint of that tropical flavor that we've seen across a few of these peppers. The heat comes across as a little more mellow and it's hitting 25,000 Scoville heat units, so it still has a good heat, but it's more of a mellow, gradual heat than the right bang you get with the Cayennes, those 2 previous peppers. So, yeah. Starting to get my sinuses open here. It's a bit of a dreary day today, so it's a nice time to be out eating peppers. But the 6th and final pepper that Igor and I have for you here today is... Oh, I've got some fluff on it here, because I had it in my pocket. There we go. Pocket fluff. That's not useful unless you are playing the old Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy game on an Apple computer. Don't panic. But the Puma pepper. This may look like a Hallows Eve pepper. That's a more recent cultivar that has been very popular the last couple of seasons. I've grown that myself. I got my seeds from the Pepper Merchant. My good friend Jeff from Beijing Taiga uses Hallows Eve. I believe it's in his Scottish jerk sauce. If not, then it's in his Envy. It's one of the sauces, but Jeff's got 4 of them right now. So Scottish jerk, Beijing Taiga, Envy, and the tomato brulee. Check them out, islandsun.ca. But let's first talk about the Puma pepper. So the reason it looks like, I see him squirming around here, bud. The reason it looks like a Hallows Eve pepper is because it has very similar genetics. The Hallows Eve is a cross between a Pimenta Donita and a red ghost pepper. The Hallows Eve is a cross between a Pimenta Donita and a golden habanero. So you get that nice purple, dark foliage. It's almost a black plant. So it's an ornamental plant that produces a very beautiful pepper that, from what I understand, at about 300 to 400,000 Scoville heat units, it is about the hottest you can get within the annuum category. It's a cross between an annuum and a Chinense, but I got my seeds from Baker Creek, and they have it listed as an annuum. So I'll go with their precedent there. So, the Hallows Eve. Let's bust the pepper open, see what we have. Surprisingly thick-walled. Not too many seeds in it. Pods are kind of small and compact, but they are nice and thick. They start off with a dark purple like you see on the edge there, and they ripen through with a patina of this nice kind of golden rod you get from the golden habanero. And finishing up the video, the last one for today, you can see the juice just from the peppers. It's running down the knife there. There we go. It's really juicy, very floral smelling pepper. As with many ornamental style peppers, they're usually bred for appearance and not for flavor. So although they look attractive, the difference between an ornamental and an edible pepper is that the ornamental peppers are edible, but they don't always taste good. The Puma pepper, I grew this last year, and it was featured at Heating Up the Capital Part 2, the second edition, for the Extreme Chili Alliance Pepper Eating Championship. So, Puma pepper, let's do her. What do you think, Igor? Here we go. Bit of fruitiness there, bit of a smoky flavor, and here comes the heat. Oh, and that floral flavor. So there is a bit of smokiness up front that makes this a pepper that could be useful to make hot sauce with. I was kind of joking last year about using the Puma peppers to make a sauce called Puma Pants, but we'll see if that comes together. But it does have a really good heat on the back end there. It's a black peppery kind of pepper, kind of a full mouth heat with a bit of that floral sting to it. So those are the peppers we're looking at today. Again, this is the Garden of Apologies. I am Erik, the Barmy Farmer. This is 9 years now I've been growing peppers. And with 102 on the go this year in the garden, I thought it would be a good idea to sit out here with some of my cats and walk through some peppers and do some tasting. So thank you very much for watching. Please click your buttons to like and follow, subscribe, and all that. If you feel like sharing with your friends, I'd mighty appreciate that, kind sir. Oh, and a mosquito. That's what I've got for you today. Thank you very much for watching. Stay tuned for episode 3 coming up sometime soon.